All right, everyone, welcome back to the Off Court Podcast, the paddle podcast covering all your paddle needs. As you know, we are joined by, my name is Hugh, and
Connor. What's up, guys?
What's up, everyone? Hope you're having that you had a lovely weekend. Thank you for joining us, whether it's from Apple Music, Spotify, all our viewers on YouTube. Thank you.
All right.
Today, we will be talking about the last tournament of the latest tournament of the Premier Paddle season, the Cancun P2.
The windiest tournament we've seen in a while.
I think we're going to talk a lot about that because it was crazy.
More weather chat than paddle chat.
Yeah,
maybe.
Loads of upsets, odd results.
Yes.
Main pairings getting knocked out early.
Yeah.
We're going to get into all of that. How did you see this?
Where do we begin, really?
How did you see this tournament, Connor? Yeah, what's the main?
Well, for those on sort of our time zone or any European or Middle Eastern time zone, and you guys are catching up on sleep like Hugh and I are, we were staying up till like 2 or 3 in the morning watching, even the finals last night. It was worth it because I think this tournament, due to its weather conditions, which we're going to get into now, it's our first topic, was the chaos. So the Mercury was in retrograde as we approached our last day of spring or whatever.
Yeah.
We just got some crazy headlines where in round 32 and round 16, we're like, holy shit, these guys got knocked out already. What is happening? So we got such a wild outcome of results, which we're going to hit like targets and nail them down. But let's start here. The age-old debate, Hugh.
Yes,
of indoor versus outdoor.
That is the main, I think, first and main topic of discussion. Also, to bring it to you guys and see what you guys think. As always, we read you in the comments.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I think Connor and I have slightly differing opinions here, which is good because then we can talk about them. So, as you probably know, Cancun was crazy in terms of weather. Yeah. Not wind, not rain or anything like that. It was mainly just wind.
Oh, yeah.
It was like a hurricane was going through
in the court.
The Rafa Nadal Academy in Cancun. It was impossible to hit any overhead because you could not predict where the ball was going to end up.
It was a little silly. Like, when you tune into the round 32 and round 16, and you can just see the camera that's like like mounted up at the top, just shaking.
And it's like shaking, and you can hear the noise. Yeah.
We got some pretty low quality paddle out of that. There's no other way to describe it. Mm-hmm. Like I obviously you're gonna hear what our takes on it, but I'm okay with that. There's outdoor tournaments throughout the year.
Yeah.
I'm okay that sometimes the weather affects it and everything like that. But in situations like this, early on, it was chaos, man. And it results in such strange paddle. I remember watching the Edu Alonso game. I think it was in round 32. And these guys got knocked out super, super early. They resulted in just pinging the ball up incredibly high. It doesn't matter if the lob is short or not. The fact the ball is zigzagging down as it comes to hit a volley, basically. And it's much harder to return that. Mm-hmm. I think that is like a tactic or a quality of the sports is just like not what we're here to watch, basically. And that's why we got some crazy outcomes of it. I mean, that's the tactic people are resorting to. Let's ping the ball up high and let's see where it lands and hope for the best.
But I think that's literally, you said it, the problem with outdoor tournaments when conditions like these happen is that the quality of the sport and the spectacle just decreases. Yeah. And that's just a given. Watching round of 32 games with we still have very good players playing, even though it's not like semis or final, and you're seeing these players having to hit basically scooping the ball up because they can't even hit a soft b-boda. They have to just tap it so that it just goes over the net. Yeah, just results in poor viewer experience. I think it's not, the players aren't having a good time. They're not having fun. They're uncomfortable. So are the spectators. And it just decreases the quality of the sport. Like Sanyo said, Sanyo Gutierrez, who
a main theme of this tournament.
He said it, and I agree with him. Paddle is an indoor sport.
Yeah.
I think that paddle should be played indoors almost always.
Yeah.
Unless you know for a fact that you can play it outdoors. If it's not the wind, it's going to be a sandstorm when they go to the Middle East.
Yeah.
If not, it's going to be rain. And if not, it's going to be like extreme weather conditions, like playing in Dubai in the summer or Italy in the summer, where players are like, I'm literally going to pass out. So I just think it's not a sport made for that. I understand that it is good to have some variety. Like the Italy Major is a wonderful tournament.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Premier Padel, the issue is, and Galan said this in a post-match in the press conference, he was like, tennis has this nailed down to a T, and they move around the world. The schedule is built on just following summer around, following good weather conditions. Premier Padel still needs to nail that down. And I also think tennis is less affected by the fact that they're playing in quote-unquote stadiums that are a lot more protected. Many of these paddle courts, center courts in Premier Padel tournaments are not, they're quite
they're just
open.
like stuck in the middle of an open field or
and let's
an
not
open
forget
venue.
that the lobs are a huge thing in paddle, not in tennis. The ball is has a lot more speed in tennis, so it's less affected.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I don't know. I think for me, it's just keep it indoor and just so that we don't have any issues.
I from the player's perspective, I obviously I understand them. At the end of the day, they're the victims of the weather, and they want to play their best level of paddle. And when interferences like wind, rain, or any extremity are changing the shape of that, I completely get the frustrations on going behind this. I still ask myself the question why Premier Padel has scheduled a certain number, about a quarter of the tournaments in the year, are scheduled as outdoor tournaments. And, there's a lot of people behind this. They're going like, yeah, but what about the weather? It's like, we'll see when we get there. For me, I feel a lot of sympathy for like a lot of the early round qualifiers that don't really necessarily get far. I can't imagine traveling on an expense on a certain budget just to get and being like, hey, you're playing on that court. It's just like wind blowing everywhere. It's like, okay, we don't know what we're gonna get here. It's not fair on the players. I do have this hunch though, why are there outdoor tournaments?
Mm-hmm.
I do think from the spectacle and from the optics of paddle, there is something enjoyable from a fan perspective that, okay, this is an outdoor tournament. It does feel a little bit it's more of an experience curated by the event instead of sitting in like a dark warehouse venue. There's something about that where, okay, that's pure paddle. There's also the aesthetics on what the sport looks like to newcomers as well. I do think it's nice when the sun's setting in the background. Okay,
the Italy Major court is absolutely beautiful.
Rome Major is a great demonstration of why we need outdoor tournaments. It is an absolute spectacle and makes the event special. It's almost similar to playing at Roland Garros as well.
Mm-hmm.
That is also an outdoor tournament. We're at the stage now where the growth relies on the momentum that paddle has, and then the experience and the fan base experience. I can't imagine sitting out 8 hours watching a quarterfinal, sitting in the baking sun in Cancun. Sure, that's intense, but I'm telling you, I have this feeling that's why they're pushing for outdoor tournaments. They're going to get resistance from the players. There's just something a little more special to me, not just about the paddle, that I like. I enjoy it, and thank God. Look, the round 32 and round 16 were played by wind. That's why we're gonna run through these crazy headlines in a second. The semifinals, quarterfinals, they were fine. The finals as well. Like we got a little bit lucky with that. It would have sucked.
Especially, it was the beginning of the tournament.
Don't get me wrong. It would suck if a finals is delayed, pushed back. We don't get a finals, which has happened in the past. So it is a high risk, high reward situation, I think, for Premier Padel. Do I believe that every tournament should be indoors? I can't say I agree with that, because there's too many special outdoor tournaments that are good for the sport.
I think
I'm on that bigger picture.
No.
I mean?
But
like,
I think that's the main difference between our two opinions. Is I'm probably thinking more about like
the quality,
pure quality of the sport and just viewing the sport. You're talking about something which, correct me if I'm wrong, but which I also do think is very important, because let's not forget, this is, at the end of the day, a business.
Yeah.
This is an industry.
Entertainment.
It's not only about it's about the venue, it's about where you can get food, it's about like how nice is it to the eye. So you're coming at it from a vibes are also also play a big part in.
I think so as well.
Yeah.
And
I think I'm just being like, players, sport, like is the ball
yes.
good, like,
ultimately,
enough.
At the end of the day, that's genuinely the most important thing: the quality of the sports.
But there is a big. I do agree as
Yeah.
well that there is a big. I think I just prioritize that a bit more. My opinion, which I know is very. It's a utopian opinion, and I think it's just logistically and financially just not possible. But ideally, what you want to do is you go to Cancun, you have your main courts and your center court and whatever that's outdoor, as we've had, in case there is a sandstorm like last year in Riyadh.
You need a backup.
Or I just think like let's have indoor courts as backups. The problem is, how do you like fit all these, like if there's like 2,000 people watching a semis or a final, how do you move all these people?
No, it's
is there an indoor court close to the outdoor courts, close enough so that you don't have to like travel? As you can see, it's not very logistically, it's a nightmare, but ideally that would be my.
I think a good backup would be there in place.
A backup indoor court, just in case it's unplayable.
These guys are just like let's risk it. But you know, those are our kind of two opinions on obviously weather is such a big talking point in Padel apparently. But like, yeah, it is. You know, I think Hughes on the vibe is like, let's lock everyone in a dark room and get Augsburger smashing in perfect conditions, and there's nothing going to bother it. I also like the idea of having a mojito and sitting in the sun and watching some good paddle. You can do that in the dark too. But there's just on a vibes level, I'm a big vibes guy. That's something that I enjoy about the outdoor tournaments.
Fair enough.
There's a line to it though, where there was points at this tournament where I was like, this is just ridiculous right now. You're in a wind tunnel playing paddle. It's a nightmare. It's not for it. But that's kind of sets the context of Cancun P2. That was our opener. That's our introduction. We kind of just had waiting on the edge of a cliff, really, being like, what is going to happen?
I think a great word to describe it is just unpredictable.
Yes, 100%.
And I think the unpredictability of the weather and the tournament and the conditions gave way to completely unpredictable results as well. I think maybe that played a big part in why some pairings were not comfortable, others were more for some reason. It was just like a crazy tournament in general. So
when you see names like Sanyo and Alfonso making it to a semi-finals, you kind of got to ask yourself what's going on here and how did they get here? Because
Tolito Arroyo knocking out like pairs that should beat them very easily, back to back.
And we're gonna get them go through them all now. There's one last thing we do want to complain about, and I don't know if you guys have saw or picked up watching it live, but there was a serving issue, right?
A massive serving issue that I don't think Premier Padel or the FIP have addressed yet. No one said anything about it.
We're just kind of pushing it under the rug.
Yeah, but
what happened?
It was the game where González and Jose Maria played against. It was Carmen Goenaga.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, I can't remember what stage of the tournament that was. I think it was.
It must have been just before quarterfinals. Just before or quarterfinals,
or maybe quarterfinals. Yeah. It was the third set. It was crazy because it was the third set. Jose Maria and Bea González were down on the third set, 5-1.
I know.
And so it was their turn to serve.
Yeah.
Bea González serves for the 5-2. They get the 5-2. Their rivals serve. Then it goes to 5-3. On the 5-4, Bea González serves again. And she did that 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
Jose Maria didn't serve for... but she should have served in between those games. And it was Bea that served instead.
Yeah. Which is that human error? I doubt they were like, Bea's got a way better serve than Jose Maria. She's got to take it. But
I'm just... It's obviously, this is the umpire's fault. Is because he's the one, enforcing rules and making sure that everything's fair.
That's his job.
But at the same time, I'm like, what about the rivals?
Yes, dude. I mean,
why did they say anything? Why didn't the umpire say anything? Was it on purpose by González and Jose Maria?
Yeah.
Did they not notice either? Like, no one said anything. I don't understand. It's very strange.
It was we've all been on the court and everyone kind of looks around at each other and going like, what's the score? Obviously, at professional level paddle, there's a lot more eyes involved.
You got like a screen there.
You got 2 coaches as well on your bench as well. Like there's that should have been avoided very easily. Mistakes do happen. Human error happens. Whether Bea serving 3 times in a row, bringing back from 5-1 to 5-5. and for them to win that
And
set.
for them to win, because that's the thing as well. It's like, if it was, I mean, I don't want to say that González serving 3 times in a row was what gave them the victory, because I don't think that's really relevant. But the fact that the other, their rivals were up 5-1 and then ended up losing, I don't know. Does it?
It's just something. This is something that shouldn't happen at all.
Should it
really
be a void result? You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know. I saw a lot of people saying they were cheating, and I do think like cheating is quite a harsh way to look at it at this point. I just don't know if it gave them that much of an advantage. It's hard to say when they ended up winning that set, really. But yeah, I can't imagine that happening very often. I mean, I think it has happened in the past before. Yeah, that's a massive mess up from the umpire. I would, if I was Caldera and Ganaga walking off that court and then seeing that this happened and we didn't pick up on it, massive mess up from them and their coach as well. This is someone that should be having their backs when they're focusing on their game.
If I'm not mistaken as well, I mean, I've watched countless hours of professional paddle. The umpire announces who's going
serving.
to serve. It's like whatever, 5-4, González to serve.
Yeah,
they always say that, or at least I think they do. So I don't know what was happening. It's
been unaddressed, really, and it's something for the fans that actually picked up, and then now it's been like a talking point and just kind of going like, hang on a second, like these guys, went all the way to a finals.
Yeah,
they could have been one of the big teams that got knocked out early on, and
maybe it gets addressed by the time we're recording this. No news have popped up, so we don't know. Maybe it gets addressed in a few days.
Do you think it would have been fair if they got disqualified for serving 3 times in a row?
And not I don't think because I think it's the umpire's fault.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing. It's not cheating because like technically,
the intention.
I mean, it's your word against mine. Who says that I just made a mistake?
Yeah, exactly.
And like it's you, the umpire, who should have told me no. It's Jose Maria's turn to serve.
Yeah.
So I don't think like disqualifying them is fair. I think what they should do is maybe give Caldera and Goenaga some like extra points or something like that. A
goodie bag would have been nice to go home with.
I don't know, but I don't think disqualifying because I don't think it's on them.
Not at all.
We could never know because we don't know if they did it on purpose. I doubt it, but who
knows? Who knows? And in the context of that, we had some juice, some drama, some windy conditions. We want to go through now pretty much. If you guys didn't have a chance to sit down in the middle of in the evening to the early hours of the morning, we kind of want to run through pretty much all of the headlines, which sounds like we're making it all up if we do say this. Like I can't. This is
like random results.
Not to jump back into it, but this is why I'm also kind of down for you get a tournament outdoor tournament,
juicy,
unexpected conditions, unexpected results, and where do we even start here, Hugh? I mean, can we start with Coki Sanz getting knocked out in round 32? Round 32.
Yeah.
What's going on with them? And I think, obviously we'll get into the stats as well.
And it wasn't like a close game. Batista Campagnolo knocked them out 6-2, 6-0.
Broskies.
2 sets.
Broskies.
Not even breaking a sweat. I mean, I think the big takeaway here is we saw Coki and Nieto doing a great result.
Yeah.
Last tournament. Even getting to, they lost against Chingalán, but they got a set on Chingalán on a very slow court.
Yeah.
As soon as we move to something like Cancun, where balls are flying around and it is warm,
unpredictable
altitude as well. It's
a game of who adapts the fastest.
It's who adapts the fastest, and we saw Sanz and Coki getting absolutely obliterated by a pairing that does have, I mean, both Campagnolo and Batista. It's a powerful in terms of of how hard they hit and their smashes.
Campagnolo is an absolute powerhouse.
And then, I mean, tale as old as time. We've talked about this so many times, but like we have 23 unforced errors from Sanz.
Yeah.
And he only wait, give me a second because I got
pull the stats
I got to check this on the stats.
Yeah, I mean, that is the reputation John Sanz has kind of made for himself now, isn't it, really? It's kind of like this guy who, don't get me wrong, this season on his own has been fantastic. But it does come with a drawback of just having probably the most outstanding level of unforced errors one could make in a game. And I think they paid for it. I mean, look at the scoreline. It's 6-2, 6-0, right?
We have
the stats here.
9 winners.
Yeah.
And 23 unforced errors from John Sanz. That is wild. If you have 23 unforced errors on its own, it's already wild. But usually, or hopefully, John Sanz also gets a lot of winners, right? So maybe it's not like in terms of the ratio, it isn't like the best, but maybe he has like 27 winners, 23 unforced errors. Not great, but the fact that there's such a big difference, and he made so many more mistakes than that like positive things that he brought to that game. And then we have Coki Nieto with only 2 unforced errors, which to be fair is very good, but then only 3 winners.
Yeah.
So it's that like massive, you know what I mean? It's a huge,
that's
like,
the gap in your game right there.
Unbalanced backhand player that it's super consistent but can only generate 3 winners.
Nope.
In 2 sets, which is crazy as a backhand player, and then a forehand player who, to be fair, is left-handed, but then it was just all over the place.
It was.
That was
our first shock as well.
Yeah, a first shock.
A small shout out to Bautista and Campagnolo though. Also, unfortunately, they had to drop out against Coello and Tapia in the quarterfinals due to an injury on Campagnolo. So hopefully they're all good for Miami.
Yeah.
But yeah, our next headline here, also in round 32, another knockout. Momo, González, and Nenno also out.
Against who? Against someone who I think we're going to be hearing more of, and we're going to have to keep talking about more and more. Collado Hernandez, the 2 youngsters.
Yeah, it's fantastic, huh?
2026. Look, man, they're
I've seen
pushing.
Hernandez play a few games now, and he's an exceptional player.
And these guys
One to
play
watch.
paddle, man. They play with heart. They're hungry.
Yeah.
And up against big pairings.
My gosh,
such as, don't forget, they're inexperienced. And they go up against big pairings, like even top 3, top 4 pairs.
It's Nenno and Momo, man.
Yeah.
Let's look at that as well. The score 7-6. They got 2 tie breaks. 2 tie break each set. 7-6, 7-6. The mental capacity. He got the conditions as well to go against Momo and Nenno.
Yeah.
Man, come on, the guys that can pretty much return most balls that come their way. And they walk out of there, and we were all shocked when Momo and Nenno were also knocked out in round 32.
But then, again, we have the slight pattern here. We see Coki Sanz. We see Momo. We see Momo Nenno also getting knocked out early. 2 pairings that don't exactly have that power that,
that you could have abused in the courts in Cancun.
Yeah.
We always have to preface the weather. We're going to stop prefacing the weather. We know what the weather was like in round 32 and
don't
round
forget
16.
Exactly. These are round 32 upsets.
It was Wild West, man. Like the wind was fucking everywhere.
However, this is something that Galan said as well. We didn't say this when we were talking about it in like earlier in this episode. Conditions are the same for everyone.
Yeah, see, that's like the.
And you keep changing
that's like
sides.
The woke
so
take.
like it is. I mean, it is fair. It is fair technically. Like a player can they can't complain being like, these courts are unplayable. These conditions. Yeah, but why did these guys beat you 6-2, 6-0? The win's the same for them.
It's true.
It's about like adapting a little bit as well.
Yeah, I mean, even in our, let's not go back too much into the weather, but it is even when you do swap sides. And you do play a whole set when the wind's with you versus against you, and it does. You have to reset a little bit and recalibrate.
I mean, you change every odd game.
Same
so
for your opponents as well. So I do think that is a good.
It's like a couple games on one side, then the other. The thing is, it can change. So maybe when you're playing on that side of the court, the wind's a bit softer, or it's in your favor. And
you're totally right. That's almost like it's the untouchable statement to this argument.
I mean, that's what Galan said.
And Galan is Galan, man.
And
Come
he's
on.
a very well media trained professional paddle player. He said, like,
the most politically accurate answers.
He was like, I'm not going to say that I think paddle should be indoor. He did say, I like outdoor courts.
Yeah.
I like outdoor tournaments, like the Italy Major, his like best tournament
where
he always wins. But he did say, like,
that's a good take.
It's a bit unplayable sometimes, but then he said, you gotta adapt. It is what it is.
You just gotta play. I like that take. I'm gonna use that one next time. Okay, as we go
what's our next one then?
Another one. Another shout out here because this was also in round of 16, I believe. Coello and Tapia are just arrive in Cancun. They're ready to go.
Yeah.
They're like, how do we get to the finals as fast as possible without expending as much energy? Let's play Maxi Arte and Hijo as well. Let's go 3 sets and do a 3rd set tiebreak just to get extra pressure on us, man. Which it's always good. This is why it's like, doesn't matter the conditions. It's these young kids who are very, very, very good, and they're going to be big names that we see in paddle in the next coming years.
Lijo, an experienced player, but Maxi Arte coming from A1 paddle.
Yeah, okay.
Last year, so I think last year he played a little bit with Stupa.
Yeah.
When his partner was injured,
He's
great forehand player, also a lefty. So and he does play with a lot of initiative, I feel like. and he is a strong player. He does have a lot of tools, a good smash as well. And as we know, lefties are always good people to have by your side when playing paddle.
Exactly. Valuable. I mean, it's almost, these guys, maybe they're not both as young as they were, but, it's almost back in the days when like Tino Lebac and Cardona were playing, like, because they were so lower ranked to get through to the finals. They had to, basically destroy all of the people with technically higher rankings than them. Just give them a little bit of time, and they're already proving moments like this. And, Coello and Tapia could have been in our list of headlines that we just read out about getting knocked out in the quarterfinals. They held on to it. They ended up obviously getting to a finals, which we're still yet to touch on.
It is amazing, isn't it, how we saw this in the final as well. We're going to talk about it now. We've seen them so many times. I think it was Riyadh or earlier this season. Coello and Tapia also lost a set 6-3 to like these two.
Yes.
I think they were two like Dutch players or something, ranked pair, whatever, 80 something, or I can't even remember. It is crazy how these two can, as soon as obviously I want them to win.
Yeah.
They're not my favorite pairing, and we see them win so many times. I usually prefer supporting the underdog.
Of course, yeah.
Playing against Coello and Tapia. So I'm always like, come on, Chingalán got a set on them. Or come on, Stupa Lebrón won the first set, or they won the second. Arcelijo just won the second set. They just win. They end up winning.
Yeah, of course, man.
If it comes to 3 sets, it is so near impossible for Coello and Tapia to lose.
No, of course. And it's a pattern that
crazy
that we even see in the final, because when it goes down to the details of who made the less mistakes and who got the more break point opportunities, these guys are clinical masterminds of that, and we see it all the time. And this, the pressure makes diamonds, whatever saying you want to say. Those are the moments that make them the golden boys, man. And when we talk about the finals later on, we get a little taste of that. There's one more shocker, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, there is, which we're going to get into now.
Okay, before we get into finals and game analysis, we have 2 more upsets. I think let's start with probably a pairing that deserves a big shout out. It's completely unexpected. Tolito and Alex Arroyo, a pairing that generally doesn't do very well. Personally, for me, not my favorite pairing either in the way they play. But these guys made it to semis, which is crazy, knocking out in round of 16 Paquito and Guerrero in a 3-set stonker.
Insane.
3-6, 6-3, 6-2. And then they beat the number 3 seeds of the world in 2 sets.
Insane.
6-3, 6-3. I mean, I don't know what you thought of these, of this, because we saw them play a lot more than we do usually. Personally, for me, and obviously, I mean, no disrespect, these players are professional and they're of the highest level.
Yeah.
But obviously, comparing it to, if we're getting precise here, Tolito Aguirre, not my favorite, but I think that Alex Arroyo, I don't know, it's a player that is hard for me to watch. I do not like the way he plays. I don't think, again, I don't know. It doesn't seem to me like he takes it that seriously when he plays. It feels like it's like Sunday League for him.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's how I would describe what we kind of saw this weekend, really. It was really unorthodox paddle, especially seeing these guys go up in a semifinals or a quarterfinals, and I kind of give both, Alfonso and Sanyo, Arroyo and Tolito the crowns of adapting the fastest. And these guys who already kind of do play with a really unorthodox style if they want to pull that out the hat, when it's in conditions like that, when they can go for it, the amount of times, if we focus on the Tolito Arroyo game against Coello and Tapia, just seeing, 3 times in a row, Arroyo ping the ball up incredibly high. Okay, it's not even that windy at this point, but it's to the point where Tapia goes for an overhead straight to the net. And you can kind of see in Tapia's face a little bit like, what the hell was that, dude? Like, you just pulled that 3 times in a row and you're giving me these like insanely high lobs that I have to play with. And it's just, you don't normally see tactics
especially
like that.
Arroyo. He, like, as soon as it playing from the back glass, he just went like, he just pinged it up and just hoped for the best.
As Hugh said, I also to reference Hugh's perspective on Arroyo as well, not being one of his favorite players to watch. I think this tournament, though, he did shine a lot. And I think
Yeah.
due to the context of the
I mean, he
the
made
tournament,
it to semis.
he was playing like a bit of a beast, I'll be
yeah.
honest. Like it was like almost like we're watching like an anime here a little bit, because it's someone that we don't really know at the beginning, and
Yeah.
then he just comes out all the way to a semi-finals.
Like the hero journey.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And, pulling out these insane, shots that you wouldn't really see people play against Coello and Tapia. And I'm just like, you know what? You go for that, man.
Yeah.
You play like that. And, if him and Tolito go all the way, that's why the semis were a little lackluster, because it was, much lower seeded players, if they are seeded, versus, Coello and Tapia and Lebrón and Stupa. That's why we got scorelines like 6-2, 6-3, really.
Yeah.
And it's great to see them, and I'm sure they love the points. But yeah, for me, that my take on that, just for both men's semifinals, is that they did get there. Hats off to them. They only got there due to the outdoor circumstances and their unorthodox style of playing, which is what we saw. We watched it, and there was too many times where I'm just like, gosh, man, even Coello and Tapia weren't expecting that. And I think, that's an element of the game, surprise. Not knowing how to deal with your team, with your opponent, Like that's part of it. And they did try to take their advantage. It only got them so far, but hats off for them, for both those teams to getting to a semis.
And speaking of hitting balls in awkward ways and not being able to adapt, probably the biggest upset of the entire tournament was Chingalán getting knocked out in the quarterfinals. 196 days that the number 2 seeds had gone up until that point without losing before final, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So in nearly, I guess like close to a year, they'd made every single final of every single tournament, obviously then losing against the 2 demons. But
not even getting into a semis.
Actually, for the first time since Riyadh last year, Riyadh 2025, where they lost against Augsburger Cardona in the quarterfinals, they hadn't lost in before the final. So, I mean, what happened? My main takeaway of this game, also they were up against a pairing like Sanyo and Gutierrez, Sanyo
Alfonso.
and Alfonso, sorry, who are, they're not the strongest pairing. Sanyo, absolute legend of the sport, but he is 41. This is his last season.
Yes.
I mean,
he might rethink that now, the fact that he got into a semis.
But yeah, I mean, it was, for me, that like the main takeaway, the main thing was how out of sorts Ale Galán seemed in that quarterfinal.
I mean, it was kind of weird to watch. Really.
I mean, the stats speak for themselves. Losing on a diagonal and having worse stats than González Alfonso, who is a good player, but come on, against Galán.
Yeah, it's Galán at the end of the day.
Alfonso racking up 26 winners, Galán only 24. I say only because we're used to him having a lot more.
Yep.
And a lot more unforced errors as well. He was missing loads, Galán. He couldn't find his match because of these high lobs. He seemed uncomfortable. It was just not his, it wasn't his game.
No, it wasn't. I mean, that's what it was. We saw Galán on the court, but it didn't feel like we were watching Galán. There was too many times where Galán was he was running around a little bit like a headless chicken. And it was just like, damn, to see him get kind of like lost in the sauce of it all. And even you can see it in his face, questioning his decisions, his positioning, where he should have been. How did that ball just get past him? And I'm just like, this is just not going. And they lost it in 2, man. I think that's just completely evident of what.
Easy. Also, all these, like, it was 7-5, 6-4, which is a, close game. But even like blocks that Galán is used to doing, and that it's not just blocks, it's like balls that he can then block them and plays them really well after that. Just easy blocks, bajadas from either Gonza or Sanyo that were good bajadas, but that Galán should block them easily. He just couldn't hit them on the right sweet spot of the racket, and they just like kind of shook his racket and just like ended up on the net. Some volleys that is also like probably arguably the player with the best volleys in the world, and he was like missing those. I mean, he couldn't smash a lot either.
Even there's multiple attempts from Chingo trying to hype him up, and you can easily go like "Vamos Ale!" Like that's all I heard during that really short game, and to the point of how much a hype man Chingoto is that. It's Sanyo and Gutierrez. Not Sanyo and Gutierrez. We keep doing that. Sanyo and Alfonso serving, right? Chingo's taking the serve, and even just before the serve, and Chingo's getting ready to take a serve, he goes, "Vamos, Ale!" Like you're hyping up. You're the one taking the serve, man. What is going on? And I think they just knew they were iced out from the beginning. How are the stats looking from this game?
It's basically it's from a winner's point of view. Chingalán did 2 more unforced errors than Alfonso and Gutierrez.
Right.
It was 34 winners for Chingalán versus 45 for Alfonso and Gutierrez. And it was basically like on the diagonal with Alfonso and Galán.
Wow.
Not a lot of smash conversion rate either from Galán, less than what we're used to from him. And he was clearly the weakest link in the entire game.
In a nutshell, that's how strange this tournament was. It was like we're watching an alternate universe of Padel a little bit.
Chingo played decently.
You can't play like that when Galán's playing like that.
But he didn't have his teammate Galán there to support him and to get those winners and finish off those points. As we know, that's how this pairing works. Why they're so wonderful and they're so good is because they're both like essential pieces to this machine.
They need each other to activate.
They complement each other perfectly, and they're 2 completely different players. So when that isn't meshing well and there's no chemistry there, that's when they suffer.
Exactly. And I think genuinely maybe I'm being selfish, but really at the end of the day, what the biggest disappointment was from Chingalán getting knocked out in the quarters is that we still haven't got a Chingalán-Leberger
Connor's
game.
been wanting this.
Not just me. I think we all want it.
We all want this. I remember he texted me being like,
can't wait.
I was like, oh my God, surely Chingalán are going to beat these guys.
Can't wait for this. It's going to be awesome.
Leberger's probably going to, hopefully, most certainly going to go into semis as well. We're going to have a very exciting new semi-final with Chingalán and Leberger. And no,
I think I woke up from a text from Hugh being like, Chingalán got knocked out last night. I was like, what? By who? Sanyo and Alfonso. I'm like, what the fuck is going on, man? What is actually going on? So I maybe we'll see it in Miami. I don't know, but it's something that we all want. Maybe some of the drama from last week has kind of died down as well, but that game is going to happen. They're just making us wait. And we have to wait a little bit longer. I can't wait for it. I'm still excited. But it seems like the Premier Padel gods are kind of pushing this excitement and just getting us hyped up for it. I think over here, if I look at my list as well, we have one more knockout from the women's side as well, which we want to cover. And I'll lightly also knock out the fact that it wasn't also a good tournament for Claudia Fernandez and Araujo as well, getting knocked out super early. I didn't get to watch the game. That's also a pairing that I didn't have a lot of expectations for this coming tour for this whole season as they announced their pairing, and unfortunately they're still kind of figuring everything out. Still, players like Bea González and Paula Jose Maria who got into the finals, have had a bumpy start as well.
This is the first good tournament they've had since the beginning of the season.
Been a big fan of Claudia Fernandez since she was playing with Gemma. I do want to see them pick up the pace, but they also got knocked out. Another big knockout in the quarterfinals was Sanchez and Ostero.
The two girls who are showing that this pairing in this 2026 season they've started playing together and they're like, what's up?
Yeah, definitely. They surpassed my expectations or how they started the season, and
they've won tournaments already. They've made finals. And I mean they've been performing as good as you can since the beginning of 2026. Unfortunately, quarterfinals in Cancun, they got knocked out by a pairing that
Guinard
they should have.
Verseda,
Guinard and Birseda.
I watched that game and it was one of those games that you can feel a little similar to Galán, I guess. It was the weather conditions were fine. It was definitely something that was irritating them, and especially in their game to get into the quarterfinals as well. Their coach was just like he literally said that I'm talking the game before this one. That game was a mess. Purely due to weather conditions, and he was just like, "How are you meant to play your best when you can't have the best environments?" I see the frustrations. I think that frustrations kind of stuck with them going in against Guinard and Verseda. But just watching that, Guinard as well, Verseda, they're very strong players and they can handle their own. Sanchez and Ostero obviously have a lot of momentum, being obviously one of the best picks to have going into this season. And they couldn't. They were deflated. Okay, in the first set, they went to tiebreak. Or no, they it's 7-5, sorry. Quite close. Sanchez was not warming up. Ostero, almost similar about that dynamic between Chingotto and Galán. If both of them aren't operating at good level.
It has to be a well-oiled machine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, we've seen them at that level. That's for sure. They've proved it already. This was a game that I was just like, you guys can write yourself out of this because you went 2 sets. That second set where they lost 6-3, it went straight out the window. So it was disappointing to watch, but at the same time, it's like I think they didn't appreciate the conditions. Obviously, they enjoy playing in Cancun, but they were just out super early. A big surprise for us as well. Now I think we're going to jump into...
Let's do it.
The finals.
Into the 2 finals. The women's final, the number 1 seeds.
Wow. This was a game that we've been also waiting for a long time as well.
And Gemma, who started off the season, ended 2025 not so great.
No.
6 tournaments in a row since October last year.
Oh, yeah.
Up until a couple tournaments ago that they were losing finals, making it to the final, but just not getting titles. They lost the first one.
Yeah.
Riyadh, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they did.
And then they beat
Sanchez Ostero
in the last one.
Exactly.
Which was
Gijón.
There you go.
Yep, exactly.
Forgot about that. In Gijón. And then they get their second tournament of the season so far now in Cancun.
They're just warming up. They're shaking off the bad vibes from their losing streak. And, when a pairing like Gemma and Delfi are kind of building towards their prime or getting into a good flow state, whatever you want to call it, they're absolute animals, man.
I think
dangerous.
both men's final and women's final, we're going to get into it, but like the MVPs of these games, the same way we said, when Galan isn't having a good day and he doesn't mesh well with Chingo, when big players have bad conditions, whatever, and it's not their day, the same way we say that, when the absolute beasts of paddle, the Gemmas, the Coellos, the Galans, the Delfis, etc., Usteros, when they have a good day,
they're incredible to watch. Yeah,
and I think it was true for Gemma. In this final, it was true for Coello in this final as well.
I was going to say, all of what you're saying right now has to be void of Coello, especially in this finals. But we'll get into that in a second because he was an absolute animal.
But you know what I mean? Like when when a pairing or top pairing or players they're locked in and they have that positive day. Yeah. There's not much you can do.
Gemma in that finals was, I think on their baseline was operating like all lights go. There's nothing unusual. I think going into the match, the possible weak link that could also be the strong link that will change the narrative of the game for me was Paula Jose Maria.
Yeah.
And kind of walking onto that court, I was like, okay, in these first few points, let's see how they figure each other out, find momentum in the game. And I don't know whether she was irritated from the conditions, from the sun, from whatever. It looked like Paula Maria, making up new names, Paula Jose Maria, couldn't find rhythm. And they were struggling. They were going back to the bench. They just were feeling a little awkward, basically.
There was something about the sun as well and how she kept taking her sunglasses off.
This was me reading into it. I don't know about you guys, but it was like you're these I'm comparing myself to like professional athletes and like, but I do, even in situations like myself, if I'm taking my glasses off when I'm changing each side of the court and now I'm playing in the sun and now all of these things that extra baggage that I don't need to distract me and allow me to lock in, it did feel like that because at one point Jose Maria was just like, fuck it, I'm going to be in the serving into the sun, but I'm not going to play with glasses. And I'm like, I'm not putting down the loss just to glasses here, guys. But it just, that's
added to the...
That's what I'm saying. There was extra distractions that allowed Jose Maria to take herself out of the game. And I think by the time we hit the second set, obviously, first set went to tiebreak. 7-4 tiebreak. Obviously to Gemma Delfi Brea.
Yeah.
At that point in the game, it was still... There's still light at the end of the tunnel.
I mean, it was a 7-6 and then tiebreak went to 7-4.
Yes.
So, I mean, it can't get much closer than that.
Yeah, no. I mean, when it's 5-6 and 30 all as well, it's like a huge pressure point for them. And they did lose it. But coming into the second set where they lost 6-1, it's almost very similar to Coello and Tapia, which we'll talk about very quickly in their second set, where they just walk on and they, like a light switch, they just turn on and now they're playing paddle.
Yeah.
And they go, oh shit, okay.
Wait, what happened there?
Yeah, sorry. Now we've woken up. And I think, look, for Bea and Jose Maria, for a pairing that we've spoke about, not badly, but in terms of them getting a good start to the season, not a great start. They're figuring each other out. We know we kind of identified a few of the issues that could be going through between González and Jose Maria.
Yeah.
Both playing with players in their play styles that they've never really played before.
Yeah.
who's going to get the ball down the middle. You know, Jose Maria is a lefty, and Bea González hasn't really played with a lefty, or she wasn't when she was playing with Delfi. And there was too many moments where that was evident, and that's a flaw for them. And they're slowly patching it and picking all the pieces together to form their own strategy and for them to be dangerous. And I think that's what we saw.
I think it is. I think you said something before that I quickly want to speak about as well, because I think you made a very good point of how in these situations, Para Jose Maria is quite a determining factor.
Oh, yeah.
If you've got Gemma on her A game, she's got González on the cross court. González, we know what she's capable as well. But if you kind of accept the loss there in that diagonal, being like, Gemma's on fire, we got to look somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's on that diagonal between Jose Maria and Delfi. Jose Maria, as a lefty, she can bring the heat against Delfi. She can't put Delfi in, a backup against the wall, and she can generate winners, and she can control that side of the game as well. So it kind of like, to try and balance it out, if Gemma is kind of like on fire, Jose Maria has to kind of like be like, okay, I'm going to try and carry this a little
exactly
bit,
and when the jetpacks aren't firing off, and that's kind of the downfall for them. I think it's great that they made a final, Jose Maria and Bea, and
it's a great matchup, these two pairings.
It's only going to get better, really. I think that's it. It's just like, we're going to talk about the men's final really soon. It's just like, we call it the El Clasico, Chingalán versus Coello and Tapia. It's like, this is almost like a researched heavily researched game now, because we've seen it over and over and over and again, and saw like the few variants of outcomes. I think when you get two titans like this on the women's side as well, they need to improve their research dossier, their experience playing them. So it is one of those moments where you can go in a tiebreak for a set, and then all of a sudden 6-1. That's an absolute flip-flop of a game. But it's only the beginning. This is our third tournament of the season. Everything is still kind of cooking up right now, figuring things out. We're going to get weird tournaments like this, like the outdoor tournaments, which by the end of this episode, I'm kind of realizing that I love the outdoor tournaments, actually. This is way more fun.
But before we move on to the men's, just to give you guys some numbers.
Let's run through them.
I mean, the Gemma being an MVP is like, there's no doubt about it. 32 winners.
Damn.
11 unforced errors. Delfi Brea, semi-consistent, 12 and 11.
Yep.
González with 17 winners, 6 unforced errors, good ratio for her. And then Jose Maria with 14 winners, 15 unforced errors. As we said, she couldn't really carry that side of the game. In the end, it came down to winners. Triay and Brea with 44, González, Jose Maria with 31.
Right.
So they did get quite a bit more. And then unforced errors, it was practically the same. Actually, González and Jose Maria one less unforced error than Triay and Brea.
That's actually what I noticed after the game, because it was one of those things where I'm like, how, you guys lost 6-1 in the second set, but the unforced errors were better on their side. You know what I mean?
And
which
it's
is kind of weird
also,
to see.
as we always say, it's mainly these three stats that are always
The keys.
Either a combination of them or just one of them, the key to victory or defeat. Break points, unforced errors, and winners. In this case, break points, a couple more for Triay and Brea, and then just a few more winners, and that's going to be the deciding factor.
And there you go. We have a women's final there, man. It was absolutely great, really. I'll be honest, and that was just a pairing that we had a lot of anticipation for, as we said already. They took a while to get their engines going, and hopefully we do see them. I mean, that, as an overarching theme for this whole tournament, okay, yes, more unorthodox players, more unpredictable results, but it does just show a little bit when you do add a bit of fun conditions to the sport. Really, it is like that level is kind of blurs even closer, because you can't deal with, get us in a still room in a warehouse where there's no conditions. Okay, that's when you play your best. But moments like this and tournaments like this, it does allow weaknesses to show a lot more, man, and to see how you adapt. And I do love that. It is fun. Especially now, I like that statement that you said about Galan, saying that it's still the same for all four on the court, guys. I have no idea what we're saying. That's the ultimate, like, you can't say no to that. It's like, it's true.
It is true.
Okay, let's get into the men's, guys, and then let's round off our episode here.
The men's final.
Yes.
We didn't have El Clasico this time, which I think is a good thing. We saw a very interesting, and hopefully with it, we can see it more often, matchup, which is Lebrón versus Coello and Tapia.
I know, man.
We had an absolute beast of a game, 3-setter, very intense, way closer than people think it was.
I know, yeah, no, it was an incredibly close game, mate.
And yeah, so let's get right into it.
Now we're getting straight into it. I'm getting my notes up here because I can't find them, but we got a Lebrger Coello Tapia final, which was I was excited for. We're talking about Chingalán. I'm always also so interested to see how Coello and Tapia adapt to potential other rivals. This does feel like another rivalry that we have here.
Yeah.
And in the first set, we get a tie break straight away. I think the energy when we got into the first set of Lebrón Augsburger, Coello and Tapia, it's like at this point in the way the tournament's gone out and the results that we've got, no one really knows how this is going to play out. Coello and Tapia the day before also got a walkover. Lebrón and Augsburger had a somewhat easy game.
Yeah.
So it's really like it could go any other way, really. And, when they go into a tie break and you see how consistent Augsburger and Lebrón are, especially on a court that favors them, it is interesting to see Coello and Tapia get pressed a lot. And I do think that's, it's almost to the point where I see them press them more and put more pressure on them than Chingalán. It kind of goes back to what we were saying. It's like, the amount of games that Chingalán versus Coello and Tapia have versus Chingalán and Lebrón Augsburger. Obviously a new pairing, so it's hard to get data on that. So it's like the Wild West, man.
It's like when Augsburger and Cardona kind of shocked the paddle world last year, like by beating Chingalán. They beat the top 3 pairs quite easily. Yeah. And that's because, Coello Tapia go into an El Clasico being like, okay, we know exactly what we need to do.
Right, yeah.
We're going to literally, like, my wrist is going to move from, like, one position to another depending on how the game goes.
Yeah.
Because it's that I know exactly where the ball's going to go, where I need to play it. As soon as that starts changing up a bit in the context of a final where the pressure is on.
Yes, no.
That changes, right?
They are the beast, man. Like, really, I mean, I think Lebrón and Augsburger got a little bit lucky because in that first set, kind of pretty much the first set, the classic, it's almost like Tapia forgot the game starting a little bit. Okay, he's there, he's doing what he can.
A bit sleepy.
But we all know the levels where Tapia can go to, and it was Coello kind of just like, okay, let's crank the engine, let's get this going.
Coello and Tapia were up 5-3 in the first set.
Yes.
They get broken back 5-5.
I know,
and then
man.
They end up losing that set.
I know, dude.
From 5-3 up, 7-6 and 7-5 in the tiebreak for Lebrger, which is a massive confidence boost.
Yes, dude.
In that moment for Lebrón and Augsburger to be like, fuck yeah, let's go. We took the set.
It's either gonna go to a third or or we win in 2. That's what they're saying. But
then at the same time, that's when Coello and Tapia are like, okay, wait a second.
I mean, that's always it. That always just feels like reality weighs in a little bit. It's way too hard, and like our fantasies we get a little too excited here when we see people run away with the first set when you go against Coello and Tapia in the finals. Gosh, dude, it does suck when they just activate, they switch on.
Because this happens in the first set.
Yeah.
They were one game away from taking it 6-3 or even 6-4.
Yeah.
They end up losing 7-6 on a tie break.
Yeah.
And then second set starts and they take a 4-0 lead.
Yeah, it is. And at least...
How does that work?
At least, dude, I don't know, man. I honestly don't know, dude. It's just where was this in the first set?
How can they be so superior, though, as to not only bring themselves up, but fucking dim down Lebrger, who were coming up and being like, dude, let's go for the second set. And immediately from,
That's exactly what you're highlighting there. Let's look at the mental challenge that Lebrger had to handle there because they scrape by, get a tie break, get it 7-5, go, holy shit, we just won the first set tiebreak over Coello and Tapia. We've got the momentum. We got that. Okay, let's take this into the second set. Let's bring all of our confidence that we earned. Let's walk back on the court. And all of a sudden, as you said, it was 4-0. How the hell are we in this situation? Yeah. It's like you're grappling with an MMA jiu-jitsu wrestler on the floor. And next thing you're in a headlock, dude. It's 6-3. And you're like, all right, fuck.
They did bring it back 4-2.
Yes,
but then that set was doomed from the beginning.
Yes.
They ended up taking it 6-3, Coello and Tapia.
I'm telling you now, Coello in the second set, though, going all the way to the third set, was an absolute mastermind.
Coello in this game, in this match, generally speaking.
Yeah. It's Coello.
This guy is actually insane.
It is. He's a demon, bro. He's actually a demon, bro. He's literally
it's these games where I'm like,
He's overpowered.
We talk a lot about Tapia and his talent. It's just because there's so much more magic, I guess, coming from Tapia. As we said, big fan of Galan, like myself. But you kind of can't argue in this game.
No.
And generally speaking, he's called the king for a reason.
Yeah.
This
Exactly.
guy is mental.
Yeah, I think this is what creates the separation, because we kind of, if you guys were listening in the earlier segments, this is what we're saying with Galan Chingotto. You kind of need both of them activating at a base level just to get the engine started to go. Same with Delphi Bray and Gemma Triai.
Yeah.
You need both of them to. You're a team, guys. It's obviously a team sport. It's just a bit strange when Coelho's playing and Tapia isn't really like.
And sometimes it's the opposite, as well. When Tapia, it's like either of them can just like be like, okay, no worries, I got this.
It's like, why don't you just chill in the background?
Yeah.
Like,
it's like a married couple with like 3 kids, and one of them comes back from work at night, and they're like, you know what? You're gonna have to take the lead tonight. Put the kids to bed.
Yes.
I'm just gonna go lie down.
Kiss them on the forehead.
And they're like,
good night.
No worries, honey. I got this. Today for me, tomorrow for you, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like a balanced thing. It's kind of like the same with these two.
It's ridiculous, man. I'll be honest. And if we just wind it back a tiny bit as well in the perspective of LeBron, in the end of the second set, losing 6-3. Not to. It's not, to be honest, the feeling's kind of gone now, but when Lebrón and Augsburger started playing, and it was kind of like, oh shit, how's this going to go down? We're just waiting for LeBron to crack this whole thing of LeBron and a meltdown and all of this stuff. It is the first time we do see inklings of LeBron's frustration, and I do want to praise LeBron on how he's handling his mental at the moment.
Yeah.
I think
little gold star.
I give him a gold star, bro. He's doing very well, and a pat on the back, because there's moments where I see LeBron's face crease, and he's just like he's pulling faces, he's doing this. He just lost 6-3 after winning a tiebreak in the first set. I get it, everyone would be pissed off. I like seeing him smile, man. It's so nice, bro.
It is nice.
I'm happy for them. Like I'm genuinely happy for them. Like it's so nice that they are finding rhythm. They know their strengths depending on court conditions and when to take the opportunity. It's just like these guys could be a threat to the number ones, don't you think?
Absolutely.
If
LeBron had the quality that he has inside his right wrist, if he had that in his mind, if it was the same, he'd be the best player in the world. If you know what I mean, not the best, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah,
because
I think he's working on that, man.
No, he is working on it.
He is working on it.
But then again, in these games, in these like close games, matches, finals, I know he was behaving a lot better than he usually does, but he was still pulling some faces.
Of course.
Misbehaving a little bit.
Yeah, because that's going to leak out. Yeah, it is. But it is interesting to there's got to be some conversation in the set. Maybe, and those frustrations weren't necessarily directed to Augsburger.
Yeah.
If you look at the numbers on the board, who did make the more mistakes?
Yeah.
Obviously, Augs taking more risks. That's expected. That's fine. I want to say I'm proud of LeBron. I think I'm just happy for him, and I think he's great, man.
I respect that. Yeah.
I'm down for it. And you know what? If we compare how LeBron and Augsburger put pressure on Coello and Tapia this game compared to how Chingalán put pressure on Coello and Tapia, I can't help but say that it does feel like LeBron and Augsburger put more pressure on Coello and Tapia than Chingalán do. And I don't know if
maybe now, yes.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I
think it's because of what you're going to say now.
It's about the repeated games.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I'd get butterflies in my stomach a little bit when I do see Coelho. He's about to serve, and I'm like, that guy looks fucking exhausted.
Yeah.
Like it's something that you haven't seen a lot.
You can tell he's being pushed against the ropes. This is not he's having to work hard.
I've seen that guy in the third set, and he looks so chill. Like he actually looks so chill, and to see him sweat drenched, kind of where he's like, Tapia, wake up, man, please, bro. Like we need this shit. We're in a third set.
Yeah.
I do think that. I do think that LeBron and Augsburger have the opportunity to put more pressure than Chingalán as rivals going for that. And I kind of want to see. Of course, I want to see a LeBron and Augsburger Chingalán semis or quarters. That would be amazing. But I just can't help to take my hats off for them. I'm super impressed by LeBron and Augsburger this tournament.
Absolutely. As you were saying before, if we just look through the numbers here real quick, because I think it's a great game for the numbers. Coello, guys, listen to this. 40 winners.
Bloody hell.
4-0 winners.
Animal.
Not even Galan gets that in his best day.
Yeah.
9 unforced errors in a 3-set match that had a tiebreak and a 7-5.
Yeah.
I don't know how long. I can't remember how long it was, but
just under about 2 hours.
in 2 hours, racking up 40 winners and 9 unforced errors. You have, out of the 4 players, he had the most winners and the least unforced errors.
Yes.
Is disgusting.
He's an animal.
He's an absolute beast.
He's already an animal, but I saw him turn into a monster last night. Like him at the net, and we've said this so many times, but it never gets old, I'll be honest. This guy at the net, the pit pat at the net when it's Tapia, Coello, Lebrón, Augsburger, all that, and you hear pop, 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 pop. It's just like this guy will win it all the time.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
And how are you also 3 meters tall, weighing like however much you weigh, and have these amount of reflexes? I get that Chingoto can do that. Makes sense.
Yeah.
But like, you know what I mean? There's something, when I was watching the final, there was something where I was like, I really wish I could experience this in my life. I won't. Hope maybe. But the image, because I've seen it so many times live, of Coello pushing the net, like running towards the net. You know how he like really opens up his arm to like hit
dude.
the,
yes.
and he just like kind of slices it like that when he's
You're talking like a bloody hawk,
when he's
mate.
flying
in and swooping up to pick their prey.
Literally like a hawk.
Yes,
when he's
dude.
transitioning to the net.
Yes.
And you're in front, like imagine being in front with your like paddle racket, and you just see Coello. You've made the tiny mistake of maybe hitting the ball just a bit too much over the net, and you just see Coello like
eyes wide,
slicing the ball into the corner or fucking slapping it like he does.
That's when you look down and there might be a little bit of pee, in your shorts. You know what I mean, bro? It's he's so clinical. He's so precise, man. He's so precise. He's so good at everything. Defending, attacking, the precision in which he hits the ball. It's a bit like Lebron-esque in that way, where it's just like he's got a magic wrist, magical physique, like his stature, his cardio, his strength, his jump power, it's his technique on volleys, on rouleaux. It is. I mean, those are moments that also like completely separate Coello from Tapia as well as players, right? It's like I don't think a lot of the words that we're describing now for Coello would, obviously they're amazing players, but they would describe Tapia well in the way he plays. You know what I mean? Like
literally
the way they're very, very different.
Very different.
Their end result of being, genuinely the best in the world.
It's literally like, and we've made this comparison many times, but like Messi and Ronaldo.
Yeah.
And I watched an interview, not an interview. It was like a YouTube video of, it was Paquito, Rodrigo Vide, Lamperti, that they just had a barbecue together at someone's house.
Sick.
Yeah. And
I would love to go to
and they just
barbecue.
talked paddle for like a couple hours, and they were all saying, they were talking about the circuit and players and stuff. They were all saying like the problem with Tapia is that, and they were all saying, even the coaches, the top coaches who their job is to look at technique and teach people technique, they were like, this guy doesn't have great technique. Like and Paquito was like, the problem when I play this motherfucker is that I don't know what he's gonna play. He's so unpredictable.
Yeah.
He's holding his racket in a certain way, and I'm there at the net, and I'm like, I have no idea if he's gonna play a Chiquita, if he's gonna play a lob, if he's gonna like do something weird with his wrist, and like he's so unpredictable. Like that's the
Tapia's the random guy in Play Atomic you match with, and he turns up with a plastic bag and his racket in there. He's like, all right, let's hit and a half bottle of water for a 2-hour game.
It's like it's pure talent. Obviously, guys, don't get me wrong. I know that Tapia probably has very good technique in many ways, especially on his smash. I think his smash is like a different thing.
Yes.
Where you perfectly can see the shape he makes and kind of like slow-mo the way he hits the ball. But Coello is the opposite. Coello is like the way he moves his body, the way he balances the weight when he's hitting certain shots, his volleys that look like they're going to go out, but
they're in.
Somehow they're just,
It is. I mean, I don't know. That's why I kind of enjoyed that segment there, because on the difference of Coello and Tapia, like, it's hard to describe the differences of them when they play against each other for the last 2 years now. But that's it. And I think you kind of said it earlier on in before at the start of this conversation on the difference between Coello and Tapia. But you said these words, clinical. Yeah. And I think that's going back to the men's final here, and just to round it off, that's what won them the game. That's it at the end of the day. They were just clinical. If we're going to get into the stats now, but I want to know the unforced errors, the winners that they did, how many breakpoint opportunities. And I'm telling you now, the difference will be minor, but that's all it takes to win the game, man. So let's run the stats up.
22 winners for Tapia, 10 unforced errors, 30 for Augsburger, 17 unforced errors, 29 for Lebrón, 11 unforced errors. So this was winners and unforced errors, guys. Loads of winners by 4 players. Both Augsburger and Lebrón with like 30 each, which is crazy. But then if we look at the overall stats, we have, in terms of winners, Tapia Coello 62 to 59 for Leberger, so just like 3 more. Not a big difference there. Unforced errors, yes, there we go. That's one of the main factors. It's 28 for Leberger, Golden Boys with 19. So 9 more unforced errors. Might not seem like a lot, but it actually is.
It is.
And then break points, 7 for Tapia Coello, 4 for Augsburger Lebrón. So just,
that's
a little bit more.
if you're scratching your head or like wondering why that was the result of the game, a 3-set game, and the shifts of momentum that it had, it is always down to that. It's the devil's in the details. We say that phrase a lot here, and to be able to get 4 insanely good players on the court, some of them, and maybe barring Tapia, the other 3 were playing very, very good, near their top level of performance. That's how they can take it. And that's the difference, especially because we keep also referencing the pressure change from Chingalán Tapia versus a Leberger Tapia game. And there's more to adapt to, more information to process live. Those are the moments that win the game for the Golden Boys. And, they can take a P2 under their belt and go all the way to Miami, for next week. But I genuinely think that's one of the best finals I've seen in a long time. A very, very good finals. It's a 3-setter. No one really knew where that game was going after the first set, and then after
it's good to see something
moments into the second set.
Well.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. It is almost like that, where I don't know really. It's just kind of saying that's why I think definitely weather is a theme of our episode. This episode, or the coverage of Cancun, and it does expose the cracks of the best, and I do appreciate that. Let some of the other players, take a crack at it. Put pressure on them, and you know what? I was pretty happy with that tournament.
Yeah, absolutely.
Barring the weather.
Before we finish this off, I just wanted to. Something came to my head now that I wanted to tell you about.
Yes.
If you guys don't know, the 4th set, he's an amazing paddle content creator. He does content in English as well as Spanish and subtitles as well. He does really good interviews with players and coaches.
Yep.
He did one recently with Edu Alonso. Edu and Coello grew up kind of together, as in they trained since they were younger. They still train together at the Prato Academy. And Alonso, when asked about Coello, he was like, obviously... but he was like, the main difference is the difference between me and Coello, apart from like, obviously his skill level is a lot higher than mine, but he was like, when we were together 15 and we were taking this seriously and training loads and stuff.
Yeah.
Edu Alonso, referring to himself, he was like, I wasn't thinking about, like, I was a teenager. I was like, my head was a bit in the clouds. I was taking it seriously, but like, I wasn't like mature enough, and like the whole defeats really like affected me, and I couldn't handle them well. And he said, Coello, I was having dinner with him and his family once at his house, because Alonso stayed with Coello's family in Valladolid for a few years, and they were really good friends. And we were like 15, and Coello just turned to me and was like, hey, who are you going to play when you're a professional? When we get into the professional, who's your partner going to be?
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, I don't know, I'm just going to try and get the best backhand player I can. Why do you ask? We're like 15. And he's like, oh no, because I'm going to be there. So I'm already thinking about who I'm going to play with.
Who's it going to be?
He was basically saying like, it's Coello's mentality
as always, and
his attitude and his maturity from a very young age. He already made all those decisions and was preparing himself to be a professional athlete and to be at the top of the game Edu Alonso said Coello told him when they were kids, "I'm gonna be number one."
Damn.
And he was like, and you can watch this interview. Edu Alonso says it himself. He's like, and there was, without a shadow of a doubt, that was his.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna.
It was
go
a
and do that.
statement. It wasn't like I'm gonna try to be. No, he was like, oh, I'm gonna be number one. I know I am.
What a beast.
So I'm thinking about playing with this guy. Tapia, he's an up and coming player. Like,
he's like, hold on a second, let me just play with Bella for a little bit. And
yeah,
then,
yeah.
You know
So
what
like,
I mean? Like,
this is something, we were talking a lot about Coello and how good he is. A big part of his.
This is the shit's been brewing from the beginning.
Yeah,
man.
it
doesn't
in
just
here
happen.
as well. It's not only like this
sick.
dude. This dude's fucking nuts.
Oh, I love that. That's
it's
insane.
a very good interview, guys. Watch it.
Yeah, okay, check it out on the fourth set.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, I love that anecdote actually. That kind of rounds off our episode as well, bringing us to the end.
Yeah,
covering Cancun P2, an absolutely windy tournament with crazy outcomes actually. Which what
a lovely chat, man. What a great episode. Right? Hope you guys enjoyed it as well. As always, we read you in the comments. Loads of debates and discussions we had.
We see you
this time, so please let us know. We love chatting with you guys. Like, subscribe, spread the word. We love doing this, and we're growing more and more. So
we'll see you on the next one.
We'll see you on the next one. Cheers, guys.
Peace.
Peace.